those businesses na thinking about putting their own stores in Lazada, Shopee, or ano bang mga platforms, or creating their own e-commerce website. Ano ba yung stand mo doon?
Kasi na-involve ako doon sa crafting ng first Philippine e-commerce roadmap.
Oo.
We were only projecting na sana umabot man lang on or before 2020 na umabot ng 100,000 MSMEs ang mag-e-commerce. Before the end of the pandemic, it is already estimated na almost all businesses are into e-commerce. So almost 1 million are into e-commerce already.
Ano yung mga nakita mong differences ng challenges when it comes to doing e-commerce before and now na meron ng mga platforms, etc.?
I think before, talagang we really have to fast track sa mga policies. Kaya natin minadali yung e-commerce law at that time. Kasi, di ba naging biktima tayo ng I Love You virus?
Yeah.
Pero ngayon, with the Internet Transactions Act, talagang hindi na pwedeng wala silang accountability. Napatunayan na dapat talaga magkaroon sila ng accountability.
I'm sure you've talked to thousands of entrepreneurs, di ba? Ano yung siguro 3 lessons that you can share with entrepreneurs who are watching now?
Ang challenge ngayon, pag may mga nakikita ka nagde-demo ng mga avatars, pag taga-taga magdududa ka na eh.
Please the court. I come here today a humble pro se for a panel of 5 distinguished justices.
Is that counsel for the case?
I generated that.
You are not going to use this courtroom as a launch for your business, sir. Shut that off.
Hi everyone, this is Jerry Ilaw, co-founder of Ulearn and Tarki, and welcome sa ating Ulearn Insights, where we distill business strategies and tech into bite-sized learning. I'm here with Miss Janet Toral, e-commerce advocate. Hi, Miss Janet!
Hey, Jerry! Thank you so much. At sa lahat ng mga nanonood sa atin, mga Ulearn viewers, welcome, and thank you for joining us.
Yeah, sobrang excited ako kasi si Miss Janet ang OG when it comes to digital and also e-commerce.
Pag alam mo, pag sinasabihan ako ng OG, madalas speechless na lang ako kasi hindi ko alam kung mahihiya ba ako, I'm gonna be proud. So, depende na siguro sa audience natin.
Yeah. You know, when I was starting the business, no, I think late 2000, etc., I attended one of your trainings, no, sa Mega Mall pa yon about going digital, etc. So, yun, I vividly remember yung mga shinare mo noon. So, I'm so happy. Thank you again for agreeing to this interview.
Yes, and thank you so much for the opportunity at sana marami tayong ma-reach out with this interview.
Yes. And siguro no, for those na who don't know you much yet, so can you share ano ba yung story and sino ba si Miss Janet?
Actually, I'm a writer. I write for magazines and newspaper publications when I started sa industry. Parang community manager din ako at that time. And then, like many na naniniwala sa potential ng e-commerce at internet sa Philippines, I founded an organization called the Philippine Internet Commerce Society. Kami yung nag-lobby for the passage of the e-commerce law.
Wow.
Tapos nung mapasa siya 2 years later or 3 years later, nag-step down na ako from the organization to let others rise up and continue the organization. Nakapag-serve din ako sa mga congressional oversight committees ng Y2K law at saka ng e-commerce law to monitor yung implementation ng batas and really participated in policy development. And then later on, siguro from year 2000, nag-start na rin ako mag-publish ng books. I have been able to publish up as of this time 4 books, one documentary at saka mga research reports. If I'm not mistaken, mga 13 yata or 14 yung research reports na publicly published. No? And at the moment, I'm also a director of iMetrics Asia Pacific Corporation, originally founded by Dr. Nick Fontanilla. Pero since he passed away during the pandemic, parang ako ngayon yung nag-step up in the company as a director and OIC. So we produce the monthly Purchasing Managers Index that monitors the economic movements in the manufacturing, retail, and wholesale and services sector. And we also conduct mga research and industry studies for private entities and for government agencies na nag-outsource sa amin. for that purpose.
Yeah, paano ka na-start sa ano? I remember yung, I think yung Digital Filipino. Yun yung vividly na-remember ko. Paano ka napunta doon and how did you start it?
Actually, when I thought of my first book, I was in the US, pabalik na ako ng Pilipinas. Somebody gave me a book called Digital Darwinism, titled Digital Darwinism. And then while reading it on the way, while on the plane, parang doon pumasok sa idea ko yung Digital Filipino. And I remember, pag-arrive ko the very next day, I have to attend the launch of Destiny Cable. No? At pag-attend ko, doon ko talaga ni-register yung domain name. I remember yung domain name pa noon, $150. No?
Mahal pa.
Mahal pa yung domain name noon. So I used it to publish mga e-commerce articles.
Yeah.
And then, June 2000, ayun, lumabas na si Digital Filipino, an e-commerce guide for the e-Filipino. And then, from there, parang nagkaroon ako ng e-commerce community in 2003, nung ilalabas ko na yung second book. Noong 2004, nung ilalaunch ko na yung second book, nag-pivot ng konti si Digital Filipino nung December 2023. Naging club siya. So, nagkaroon kami ng Digital Filipino Club.
Okay.
And then, we started organizing mga e-commerce summit, no? Digital Influencer Summit. And, pero nung mga bandang 2008-2009, parang ni-revamp ko ulit siya. Nag-focus ulit ako sa grassroots na e-commerce advocacy. Talagang nagbo-bootcamps kami noon, nag-roadshow kami, educating people how to use e-commerce. And then, tapos siguro nag-evolve na lang siya na nag-evolve. Although I have to admit na yung website, it is still there. Pero yung activity ko na under the Digital Filipino brand, hindi na siya kagaya nung kasing aggressive ng dati. Kasi right now, I find myself more supporting others rather than being in the forefront and getting people behind me. Ngayon, parang ano na ako more on helping out other people. At kung minsan, ililend ko yung brand ko para tulungan sila. Pero most of the time, talagang back-end support ako for others. Siguro, minsan mas okay din yung ganon. Kasi, di ba, hindi mo pwedeng ikaw palagi yung nasa front lines, no?
Yeah. For those na, you mentioned about iMetrics Asia, you're publishing yung mga indices, no? What other services do you provide ba?
Well, we also provide training. Pag meron nag-request na. Kasi personally, I conduct e-commerce training, digital marketing training, and then may mga soft skills training din under the John Maxwell banner. So ngayon, dinadala ko na rin siya through iMetrics. No? Kaya si iMetrics medyo nag-broaden din yung services niya beyond the traditional research na doon talaga siya mas identified.
Yeah. When it comes to e-commerce, ilang percent na ba ang, kumbaga, may e-commerce store dito sa Pilipinas?
Actually, kasi na-involve ako, no, doon sa crafting ng first Philippine e-commerce roadmap, no? And on the first Philippine e-commerce roadmap, 2016 to 2020, at that time, we were only projecting na sana umabot man lang on or before 2020 na umabot ng 100,000 MSMEs ang mag-e-commerce. But because of the pandemic, na-reach kagad yung target na yon, and then before the end of the pandemic, it is already estimated na almost all businesses are into e-commerce. Kaya parang nasa easily 1 million, talaga ang countan natin almost 1 million are
MSMEs,
into, di ba 1 million lang naman yung registered businesses. So almost 1 million are into e-commerce already. Kaya ngayon, halos walang business na hindi naka-e-commerce. Kasi kahit na anong binibenta mong produkto ngayon, kahit naman sino ngayon nakakonect na sa internet kahit yung mga nagtitinda, di ba?
Totoo.
Kaya possible talaga na kahit na tumatanggap ka lang ng order via Messenger o tumatanggap ka ng order via Viber, nag-e-commerce ka na.
Since you've been there, no, sa inception pa ng e-com sa Philippines, tapos ngayon na sabi nga natin almost all, ano yung mga nakita mong parang differences nung challenges when it comes to doing e-commerce before and now na meron ng mga platforms, etc.?
I think before, talagang we really have to fast track sa mga policies. Kasi before talagang hindi ka makakagalaw without the policies in place. Like for example, kaya natin minadali yung e-commerce law at that time, Kasi kung hindi, puro secondary evidence lang ang treatment sa mga electronic transactions. Hindi rin tayo makatanggap talaga na maayos na electronic payment among others. So parang hindi siya mag-blossom. And then at the same time, parang nakatalo rin dun yung growth ng BPO industry na at that time, hindi pa BPO ang tawag sa kanya, e-commerce back office ang tawag sa kanya.
Okay.
Parang hindi siya mag-flourish at that time kasi di ba naging biktima tayo ng I love you virus, na-attribute siya sa atin.
Famous.
So, pero nakatulong yun na para ma-fast, kasi doon tanggap ko na hindi siya mapapas ng April 2000 yung closing ng Congress Talagang tanggap ko na kasi tapos na yung sa Senate, magde-deadline na sa House, nangyari yung
I love you, February 14.
Nangyari yung I love you. Kaya talagang talagang na push all the way to the bicameral conference. It was an experience for me kasi hanggang bicam nakasama ako. And then after that, ayun, yung pag-craft ng mga consumer protection policies on electronic banking, value-added services where internet connectivity is in, and all other e-commerce transactions covered by the Consumer Act of the Philippines, yung pag-accept ng electronic payment in government, kailangan may lumabas din na policies on that, Nung wala pa yung data privacy law, nagkaroon din tayo ng policy before, yung data privacy for information and communication systems in the private sector. So, meron na rin tayong gano'n at that time. So, pati yung pagbibigay ng loan. So, ang laki ng trabaho. And in fact, pati yung pag-push ng cybercrime, na kahit na wala pa yung cybercrime law, because may cybercrime provisions yung e-commerce law, yung kahit paano, yung mandate din for the law enforcement na talaga mag-level up sila, and of course, nakakuha rin naman sila ng support one way or the other, hanggang sa mapasa na yung cybercrime law for them with the work of other industry players. Kaya, so siguro ngayon, because of the pandemic, nakatulong din yung pagpasa ng Internet Transactions Act na DTI really took the lead. Tapos mas nag-step up na sila in terms of transparency and accountability kasi syempre gusto na nila talaga ma-account sino yung mga nagbebenta online. Kailangan ma-overcome na yung original restriction sa e-commerce law na kapag platform ka, wala kang liability sa activity ng clients mo. First long as you're not monetarily benefiting from them. Pero ngayon, with the Internet Transactions Act, talagang hindi na pwedeng wala silang accountability. Napatunayan na dapat talaga magkaroon sila ng accountability. So, nandun na ngayon. Tapos yan, mga iba't ibang initiatives. So, at least, siguro, medyo mas relax ngayon. Kasi syempre, yung mga fundamentals are in place na. Pero syempre, kung gusto pa talaga natin mas mag-grow yung sector, kailangan talaga mas maging proactive. Kasi nangyayari kasi ngayon, parang minsan nagiging reactive tayo Lumabas na, saka lang tayo nag-react. Imbis na yung policy mag-originate from the private sector. Parang nag-originate siya from legislative, from government, tapos nag-react lang tayo. Yun siguro yung difference. Before kasi, halos lahat ng nakikita mong policy, si private sector ang nag-initiate.
Which is good. Dapat ganon kasi sila yung talagang babad, sila yung nakaka-experience.
Kaya iba yung tenacity before. I guess yung tenacity before, merong sense of urgency. Ngayon parang wala yung sense, hindi ko nararamdaman yung sense of urgency. Medyo palagi may sense of concern, pero I don't feel yung sense of urgency. Kasi kami talagang we really go out and talk to legislators, talagang, kasi sabi nga nila, whatever you have, all policies that you have, is a result of what you do, no? You don't expect the Senate, the government to do everything for you. If you want something done, the private sector must step up. And nangyayari kasi ngayon, parang more on complain tayo ng complain rather than tayo yung nag-step up to make things happen. No? If we really want something done for our sector, we should step up and make it happen.
When you were starting, I assume, di ba, parang when you have to create an e-commerce website, sarili pa, wala pang mga platforms like Lazada, Shopee, etc. Now, for those businesses na thinking about putting their own stores in Lazada, Shopee, or ano bang mga platforms, or creating their own e-commerce website. Ano ba yung stand mo doon? Is it advisable na mag-create sila ng sariling website or just join?
Maximize all exposure. I mean, if they can afford it. Kasi ang kagandaan sa mga existing platforms, meron na silang buyer market.
Yeah.
Na you can benefit from. You can also start on your own para kahit papano yung mga kakilala mo na they don't mind not going to the traditional platforms but get it directly from you. At least mag-benefit ka pa rin from those transactions. So you wanna maximize all channels.
Okay. And now, so from forefront ng e-commerce, no, tapos ngayon naman AI. So you have this book, Smarter with AI. So tell us more about this.
Yes, actually na-publish siya ngayong June ba? May. Wow, narito na ako. Actually, biglaan yan eh. Kasi this year, nag-form ako ng parang naging decentralized lead ako ng Global from Asia. Founded by Michael Michelini. Si Michael, para matagal ko na siyang kakilala, parang pareho siya ng Digital Filipino na meron siyang sariling community. And then I-invite ko rin siya mag-speak before dito to talk about selling on Amazon and how to work with manufacturers in China. And meron din siyang community. And then siguro sa mga discussions kasi namin, sabi ko, mag-grow yung community na kahit na wala ka, gagalaw siya. So kaya sabi ko, so yun yung sasabi ko na instead na yung Digital Filipino ang asikasuhin ko, tinutulungan ko na yung iba with theirs, no? So we put up a chapter. So may dalawa akong chapter right now. But the first chapter is yung print on demand ang forte, yung Nexus chapter. So yung guy na nag-lead ng chapter, si Napoleon Beltran, was teaching how to do print on demand and digital publishing. Eh syempre, dahil ma-attend ako ng meeting, nahiya naman ako na wala akong i-show. Kaya talagang ang ginawa ko, yung mga same style ko in my past writings, lahat ng mga articles ko about artificial intelligence, ginather ko siya, inayos ko siya, kinategorize ko siya. Tapos ayan, yan na yung finished product, no? So kahit paano, nagawa ko siya ng, I think, a week or two.
Grabe.
And then, tapos nagkaroon siya ng isang major edit. And then doon ko na-realize na although you will use AI a lot, no, in terms of helping organize your ideas, what you're missing, how can it be misinterpreted, and you correct it. Pero pagdating sa polishing, you really have to read it. No? In fact, a friend is also coming up with a book. Binigay sa akin yung manuscript kasi may usapan kami na ibebenta ko yung libro niya. Nung binasa ko na yung libro niya, dahil siguro fresh ako from the editing, naku, naawa ako kasi parang feeling ko, parang masyado kong naano yung libro, pakitanggal yung mga M-dash, dapat ganito, nakalagay dito, nakalagay dyan. So doon ko na-realize na kahit na nandyan ang AI, kailangan talaga last touch by humans. At doon merong differentiation yung may skill ka versus someone who knows how to use AI. Kasi kahit basta may skill ka, AI is only a tool for you to help you. Pero hindi ibig sabihin pag wala na yung AI, crippled ka. Yun ang problem kapag dependent ka naman sa AI. So, pwedeng pag wala yung AI, totally hindi mo alam ang gagawin mo. No?
Totoo.
At na-experience ko yun doon sa music project na pinasukan ko. We tried using AI. Pero nung hindi ako satisfied sa output, balik ako sa human to fix it. And then doon ko na-realize, I don't need AI, human naman. So yung AI, ginamit ko na lang for other things. Pero nakakatulong pa rin siya doon sa project.
Yeah, nice. So, very interesting, very comprehensive po yung book, no? So, merong 3 parts dito, AI for productivity and growth. You have AI for strategic growth and monetization. Tapos, corporate AI adoption. And the good news is for lucky viewers natin, we'll be giving out 3 copies nitong book, Smarter with AI, and courtesy ni Miss Janet Toral.
At syempre, courtesy ng Ulearn, di ba?
Later, we'll talk about the mechanics. Siguro, yun, to wrap up yung session na, so marami kang, kumbaga, experiences talaga in terms of promoting e-commerce. So now with AI, ano yung mga, and I'm sure you've talked to thousands of entrepreneurs, di ba? Ano yung siguro 3 lessons that you can share with entrepreneurs who are watching now?
I think yung ihuhugot ko siguro ang perspective dyan, yung mula na ma-launch yung libro, yung kung saan ako na-invite na mag-talk. So recently, nag-talk ako sa isang exporters community. And of course, there's a lot of fear pagdating din sa mga workers in that segment. No? So, definitely, AI can be an enabler. Dapat wag siyang tingnan as a threat, no? Lalo-lalo na sa pag-come up ng mga original designs. Like yung isang community ko ngayon, nasa 3D printing. And then I realized na malaki ang opportunity sa 3D printing, and dati you really have to be savvy in doing your designs.
Yeah.
But now there are a lot of AI tools that
Yeah.
allows you to do 3D printing and print on demand. Na because of AI, kahit na hindi ka techie na graphic designer, you can create your own designs. No? And there's an ethical way of doing it na you're not violating the rights of other people. So definitely it's an empowerment tool. Recently nag-talk din ako sa mga educators, no? Siguro yung pag-emphasize na hindi pwedeng mawala yung human in the loop.
Yeah.
No? So whether when it comes to the final output, kasi di talaga natin maiwasan, hindi naman natin pwedeng sabihin na the kids should not use AI or the younger people should not use AI kasi you're gonna put them into a disadvantage if they don't know how to use it. So ang pwede nating gawin is we have to learn how to balance it. No, na yes, they can use AI for gathering information to help them process the information. Pero syempre, yung human element, the discussion, the appreciation of the situation, the understanding, the hands-on element, the hands-on experience, the relationships that you build through interactions and listening to people. Yan ang hindi mapapalitan ng AI. Kaya dapat pasok pa rin yung human in the loop. And then third, AI will definitely not replace us, no? It will definitely not pero those who don't embrace it can be bypassed in terms of being chosen for projects. And where people who have skills na talagang really know how to use it, pwedeng sila yung mas mapili. Kaya sana wag tayong magrebelde rin against it, no? We really have to learn how to use it effectively. Because like for me, itong latest book ko, although kaya ko siyang isulat nang wala yung AI, kasi nakagawa na ako ng past books, no? Pero talagang sobrang empowering tool siya for me. In fact, right now, before coming here, may ginagawa naman ako ngayon. It will be my first time to publish a storybook. Pambata. Kasi, and I think hindi ko magagawa yun kung wala yung AI in coming up with the comic the sketch illustration, yung pag-process ng idea. Kasi nag-experiment nga ako dun sa music lately. Pero sabi ko, hindi ko naman ina-expect na yung musical piece sikat siya. Pero I expect to generate byproducts of it with AI. So, yung paggawa ng storybook. Tignan ko kung kaya ko siyang gawa ng novel later on. Yun, part na yun ng aking AI experiment.
Yeah, so sobrang powerful talaga yung AI, no? And na-empower tayo. But sabi mo nga, no, we need to have that skill pa rin, yung initial skill na yon. And amplify lang siya ng AI.
Actually, marami di ba? Kagaya nito, nag-i-interviewan tayo. Pero for a lot of people, pinapakita na nila ngayon yung you don't even have to go live. Pwedeng yung avatar ko na lang ang kakausapin mo. O kaya, pero nandun din yung ang challenge ngayon, pag may mga nakikita ka nagde-demo ng mga avatars, pag taga-taga, magdududa ka na eh. Yung testimonial ba na naririnig mo, totoong tao pa ba yun? Or avatar pa ba yun? Yung stage, yung tao, yung palakpakan, yung headlights na nakikita mo, totoo pa ba yun? Or AI manipulated pa ba yun? Kaya medyo nag-push back ako ngayon dun sa video and audio part. Kasi nga nakikita ko na challenge yung element of transparency. No? Siguro kailangan mas bantayan pa natin yung evolution on that space.
Tapos feeling ko din yung connection. No? Pag nakita mong AI, parang ako, nagdi-disconnect ako eh. Ngayon, parang hindi ko pa accepted na AI yung nakikita ko. Mas gusto ko pa rin na yung totoo.
Yung iba, tuwan-tuwa sila, no, pag nakakakita sila. Pero pag ikaw, nasanay ka na parang alam mo nang hindi siya yon, parang parang ano na lang siya. Tapos parang walang variety. You're seeing the same avatar again and again. I think nawawala na yung malasakit natin to our audience. No?
Ayun, so sobrang dami pa natin pag-uusapan. Simula pa lang yan. We talk about this book and yung AI. No? So in the next segments natin, pag-uusapan natin how you can fully utilize AI for your organizations, how you can build AI-ready organizations, building trust in this digital space, etc. At marami pang iba. So, this is just the beginning. Maraming salamat again. This is Jerry Ilaw, the co-founder of OLearn, and Tarky saying, if learning is not your priority, don't expect change. See you in the next video.